During the Spring Festival of 2013, the renovation of the Lin family ancestral hall in Chongtou Village, Maxiang, Xiangnan, Xiamen was completed. In this ancestral hall, there was a plaque conferred by Emperor Tongji of the Qing dynasty hanging on the high beam reads, "Family of loyalty and valiance." It had also been used as cowshed and school before. Honor and humiliations were just vicissitudes of the past. During the renovation of the ancestral hall, Lin Zhongyong, nearly 100 years old, always walked to the side. He was particularly concerned how the ancestral hall should be renovated.
Lin
Zhongyong's granduncle, Lin Xiangrong, once served as Taiwan's commander-in-chief and was the last military chief died for Taiwan.
台湾的以前我是听老人咧传说，也就是讲，在台湾咧乱啦，咧乱就是倒万声乱啦。但因以前电台也要去啊变乱啦呢。
In 1862, the Dai Taochun incident broke out in Taiwan. Commander-in-chief Lin Xiangrong led his army to crack down on the revolt, but died in a bloody battle. At the same time, his brother died, his son died, his nephew died, and his wife died of hunger strike. Lin Xiangrong's 400 soldiers he recruited from his hometown, almost all died. The Lin family ancestral hall in Chongtou Village is therefore equivalent to a martyr's shrine for the fallen soldiers died in protecting Taiwan. In Qinju, a town in Fujian City near the eastern coast of Fujian, a group of old people volunteered to guard these tombs.
烽火营、树牌、步兵、种木。福建的话呢，不断的派班兵到台湾去守，死了以后呢，这些兵士啊，把他们带回来都埋着。
Those buried here were unknown soldiers. They were only known by soldiers who died of guarding Taiwan. They were officers and soldiers of the Beacon Battalion, guarding Taiwan at that time. In 1683, after Zheng's regime surrendered in Taiwan, Taiwan would soon be integrated into the Qing territory. How to safeguard Taiwan? That was a question troubling the young emperor. To have Taiwan residents left by the Ming-Zheng regime guarding the island? Certainly not. How about deploy a special army in Taiwan? But the country just experienced battle suppressing the revolt of the three feudatories and the sea battle on the Taiwan Strait. The treasury seemed unable to afford a new army.
所以最后呢，还是施琅想到一个妙策，就是说由沿海的这些口岸内地头调一些军队来台湾驻守驻防。最重要，第一个，军队的人员的编制没有增加，因为从内地调过来。第二个，薪水不用再增加，他本来就要应该领薪奖，只是他改成在台湾领而已。
第三个原因是说，既然台湾已经是清朝的版图，这些福建的兵跟台湾之间，他们就应该来来去去。 来熟悉整个海上航行的情形。
This was a Fujian Taiwan integrated defense design. Emperor Kangxi's trusted cabinet member Li Guangdi perfected the plan.
李光地跟他说，1万名驻防在台湾的士兵不能永远待在台湾，要以轮调的方式跟这个福建的绿营做轮防。
就每3年就换一批，轮班来换嘛，就称之为班兵嘛。
从康熙25年一直到咸丰8年，这差不多将近200年的时间当中，这个清朝政府就以每3年1班的方式，就开始着在台湾实施班兵制。
There was a clean and quiet street in Tainan called Zhongye Street. It was named so because the office of the Commander-in-Chief of Taiwan Military Command, the top military officer of Taiwan, was located here. The Qing dynasty, based on the Ming Army's old system, made battalion as its basic unit. The army unit composed by the Han soldiers was marked by a green flag, called the Green Battalion. The infantry of the Green Battalion stationed around the Taiwan Military Command. They were left, middle, and right battalions. The office of the Deputy Commander of the Navy, also known as the Navy Headquarters, was located in Anping.
当时是以台南为一个重要基地，所以台南的水军、陆军就占了6个营。
In Penghu, there was a naval regiment with 2 battalions, the left and the right. The North Road, that was north of Tainan, and the South Road, south of Tainan, has separate general offices. Each commanded a battalion.
刚好10个营，那每个营平均1000人左右，所以住在台湾部队有1万多人。
他就沿路设堂训。 就是设那个军事据点。
Such military posts called Tang and Xun had a varied strength from over 100 soldiers to less than 10.
当时候清廷是没有警察的，所以其实在班兵当中，将近快要3分之2人都在守训堂。
这个绿营的士兵，他平常有负责维持治安的任务，所以呢，有点类似今天的警察。
那因为他设了堂训，老百姓才能上来，啊，因为你那边有军人驻扎在那里，有老百姓的安全上得到保障，啊，所以促进了台湾的开发。
Yet with Taiwan's development, problems followed.
台湾的班兵始终1万多人，那1万多人随着台湾不断开拓，他兵力越来越分散，碰到一些小你还有办法能对付，那碰到真的大的军事作案、民变、械斗，你怎么办？
In 1721, the 68-year-old emperor was about to abdicate. It had been 37 years since Taiwan's reunification with the mainland. The situation there had always made him relieved, without much worry. The society was stable, with growing population, abundant supplies. Education had been developed. The whole place was peaceful. Although there had been several civil commotions, they were quickly resolved by the rotating soldiers. From 1684, counting from Yang Wenkui, the first army chief, it had been rotated to the 12th officer, Oh Yangkai. He was from Jiangpu, Fujian, and had been in Taiwan for 3 years without many troubles. He was ready to retire, going back home to reunite with family. He didn't expect that he couldn't go back anymore. On the 19th day of the 4th month of the 6th year of Emperor Kangxi's reign, at Luohanmen in Fengshan County, Zhou Yigui, a native of Changtai, Fujian, and a duck farmer, due to his dissatisfaction with prefecture magistrate Wang Zhen's abuse of power by conniving his son's wrongdoings, he appealed to local folks to rise against the government. With few soldiers, the Gangshan post was first occupied by Zhou Yigui. Zhou Yigui's revolting group quickly expanded and marched toward Tainan, the capital of Taiwan. At that time, Tainan did not have defense walls because Taiwan was not allowed to build defense walls. Outside the Great East Gate, there was a place called Chunniupu. It was where the officials and people held a spring cow sacrifice ceremony in early springs. A fierce battle broke out in Chunniupu. On the first day of the 5th month of the 6th year of Emperor Kangxi's reign, Commander-in-Chief Oh Yangkai led 3,000 troops to confront Zhou Yigui's forces, unaware of a lethal stabbing coming from behind. He was stabbed to death by a treacherous subordinate, and his head was cut off given to Zhou Yigui. Oh Yangkai thus became the first army chief dead in Taiwan during a battle. The generals under the commander-in-chief, including deputy generals, lower-level commanders, almost all got killed in the battle sparked by this incident. In 13 days, Zhou Yigui allied with Du Junyi from Pingtun and converged from both north and south, occupied 1 prefecture and 3 counties, except for Tamsui in the north, almost controlling the whole island. On the 3rd day of the 5th month, Zhou Yigui ascended the throne at the Mazu Temple in Tainan, under the reign title Yonghe. In just 13 days, a duck-raising farmer became an emperor. However, due to power and wealth sharing, an internal fight between Zhou Yigui and Du Junyi erupted. This uprising against the government finally turned into a brutal conflict between people from southern Fujian and Hakka people from Guangdong.
朱一贵事件 我们6队乡亲客家乡亲为了要保乡卫土组织了这个6支义勇军队帮忙平定乱世。
The Hakka settlements around Pingtun region were collectively referred to as the 6 teams, as in the military formation. Years later, its name was changed to Liu Dui.
那乱世平定之后，康熙皇帝为了感谢我们客家乡亲，特别赐建了一个6队忠义亭，这是我们客家乡亲的精神堡垒。
Shi Biao, Fujian fleet admiral, was the son of Shi Lang. At the age of 16, he followed his father and participated in the Penghu Sea Battle. Lan Tingzhen, Nangao commander-in-chief, was cousin of Shi Lang's Taiwan expedition vanguard, Lan Li. The 2 generals with long-standing ties with Taiwan were ordered to go to Taiwan to resolve the chaos. They respectively led the navy and army of over 10,000 soldiers. They landed at Luermen on the 13th day of the 6th lunar month, crashing Zhu Yigui's main force in a 7-day fierce battle. Taiwan was in peace again. Zhu Yigui was arrested and executed after being tried in Beijing. There's a folk song in Taiwan that made fun of him. Wearing Ming Dynasty hat and Qing Dynasty clothes, the reign title was Yonghe in the 5th month and changed back to Kangxi in the 6th month. Luermen was recovered in a morning, then battled for 7 days. Taiwan was settled. After Zhu Yigui rebellion was suppressed, Lan Tingzhen succeeded Ouyang Kai, his Jiangpu folk townsman, as Taiwan's military chief. He was in office for a short period, less than 10 months. But for Taiwan's governance and development, he proposed a series of far-sighted suggestions and measures.
那针对台湾地广人稀的问题或者是吏治不良的问题，或者是治安的问题，那蓝廷珍也提出了一些积极的主张，例如说，他建议在诸罗县以北要增加行政区域。
This proposal was immediately adopted. In 1723, in the vast area to the north of Zhuoluo County, Changhua County was established, and Tamsui District was set up to administer the area to the north of Changhua. How could a military man like Lan Tingzhen propose a series of strategies for governing Taiwan? Because there was a special figure helping him, his cousin and military advisor Lan Dingyuan.
蓝廷珍重要的一些规划都出自于蓝鼎元之手。
Lan Dingyuan wrote his ideas on comprehensively governing Taiwan in his 2 books, which earned him the title of Grand Master of Taiwan Development Planning. Even after over 60 years, when the old Emperor Qianlong read his collections on Eastern expedition, he was still emotional, saying that Lan Dingyuan, as an advisor, his suggestions on Taiwan's situation and management were still very relevant. Lan Tingzhen's grandson, Lan Yuanmei, later became Taiwan's military chief. He retained this inkstone left by his grandfather, which was a royal inkstone conferred to Lan Tingzhen by Emperor Yongzheng when he acceded to the throne. As a military general, it was quite unusual to receive the inkstone as a present from the emperor. Emperor Yongzheng was the 4th son of Emperor Kangxi. In Chinese history, he was probably the most hardworking emperor. During his lifetime, he reviewed 40,000 pieces of memorials with a total of 50 million words. The number of officials allowed to present memorials had increased from over 200 during Emperor Kangxi's reign to over 1,000 in the 11th month of the 9th year of Emperor Yongzheng's reign. The emperor approved the request of Su Mingliang, the commander-in-chief of Jieshi, Guangdong, and awarded him with 3 months of funeral leave. After he was approved by the emperor to bury his father, Su Mingliang returned to his hometown, Lingtou village in Longhai, Zhangzhou. Based on the regulations, military chief could not take leave. That Su Mingliang was able to obtain a special permission showed that he was particularly valued by Emperor Yongzheng.
每年的正月初一，全体主人都要到那里祭拜，这是我们的祖先提督苏明莲的画像。
However, just a few days after Su's father's funeral, and the 3-month break was not over, the imperial decree of Emperor Yongzheng went directly to this small village.
叫他马上到台湾去接任总兵。
And he was authorized to carry official seal.
原来总兵都没有挂印，他是第一个挂印总兵， 这个官印就是比原来的那些装备权力更大。
Emperor Yongzheng rushed Su Mingliang to Taiwan with such urgency, but there were no military emergencies in Taiwan. For almost 3 years, when Su Mingliang was Taiwan's military chief, Taiwan was very peaceful. During his term, he sent over 50 memorials to the emperor. Taiwan military chief's memorials to the emperor. What were the contents?
他奏报什么呢？奏报这个粮食产量。
天气如何，收成如何，连米一担多少钱都写在奏折里面。
粮价直接关系民生，关系到社会的安定。他看到粮价的涨和落，贵和贱，大体可以判断这个地方民生、社会是不是安定。
他还有一个小事情，就非常小的事情。
有一个原住民的妇女，捡了一个包裹，包裹里有衣物，还有银两。
This woman handed the package to the government office and had it returned to its owner.
苏明非常高兴，亲自接见这个老妇人，他进行表扬，然后把这件事情写奏折写给雍正帝。
雍正是一个大国君主，日理万机，对他来说这是一件很小的事情。
Yet even for such a small matter, Emperor Yongzheng still replied, commenting with his red ink brush pen, "It was a great thing." Su Mingliang was given the full character written by Emperor Yongzheng for 3 times. Emperors in the Qing dynasty loved writing this character and gave it to their favorite subordinate. Gan Guobao was one of those who was blessed by Emperor Qianlong. In Fujian and Taiwan, Gan Guobao's name was widely known. In Fuzhou's talk shows, Fujian opera and Taiwan opera, he had been a popular story subject, telling the story of a prodigal turning over a new leaf. In over 200 years, there were about 88 persons serving as Taiwan military chief in 100 terms, but only Gan Guobao won the highest popularity for his image of a penitent prodigal. This was interesting, but also not what Gan Guobao intended to be. Xiaoliyan village in Pingnan County, Fujian, was where Gan Guobao was born. Who would have thought that from this village would step out a man who served as Taiwan's military chief twice and became commander-in-chief of army and admiral Fujian. In the 10th month of the 24th year of Emperor Qianlong's reign, Gan Guobao was transferred to Taiwan for the first time. As the commander-in-chief, Emperor Qianlong wrote a few words to him. This was the most important post, which must be undertaken by those who had talents and insights. This was enough to see how the candidate of the Taiwan military chief was valued by the court. Historical documents left records of main achievements made by Gan Guobao in Taiwan. One was to lead troops on a coastal patrol and arrest pirates. This was the basic duty of the rotating soldiers in Taiwan, called sea defense. Another one was strictly monitoring boundary areas and outer posts. That was to guard the mountains, to strengthen the defense and inspection of the boundary areas between the settlements of Han people and the Aborigines. The result was, soldiers were content with their duties, and civilians were satisfied with their businesses. Although Gan Guobao was a military officer, he was also good at writing and painting, especially drawing tigers with fingers. Liu Mingdan, the Taiwan military chief during Emperor Tongji's reign, was good at calligraphy, especially the character Tiger, which was full of vitality. On the Taoling ancient trail, we can still find his 4 big characters, Xiongjian Manyan. These 2 large engraved stone tablets dotted the path, have become a tourist attraction in Yilan today. In 1730, Chen Lunjian, a Tongan native used to serve in Taiwan as military chief, completed a book, Haiguo Wenjian Lu. He painted the western and eastern parts of Taiwan Island, and also for the first time grouped the South China Sea Islands into 4 archipelagos, and clearly marked the place names and their locations. Fujian and Guangdong people have been tough and valiant, and this trait had also gone with those moving to Taiwan. After all, to survive in a newly developed society, fists sometimes seemed as important as hulls. For over 200 years, various group fights broke out repeatedly in spite of strict prohibitions. It was a stubborn illness in Taiwan society.
因为台湾本身不大嘛，它小，整个台湾能开发的土地有限，那人不断的涌过来，就造成了一种生存的一种争执。
要争地盘呐、争水，样样都要争。有时候连赌博也争啊。 赌输了，他就会打群架，就变成械斗。哦，这种现象的话，在台湾是非常的多。
Therefore, a special social class emerged in Taiwan.
我们台湾叫做罗汉脚，罗汉脚是什么？打光棍的，都是穷光蛋，娶不到老婆。这些人就是变成亡命之徒，随时随地就可以打起架来。啊，打起架来，他就成群结队，然后。
In 1782, at a temple fair in Changhua County, an occasional quarrel upgraded to a large-scale weapon fight between people from Jiangzhou and Quanzhou. Luo Hanjiao played a key role in this fight. Over 400 villages were destroyed, and tens of thousands became refugees. The troops stationed in Taiwan were unable to stop this large-scale fight. And Fujian Fleet Admiral Huang Fujian came to stop the fight and quickly settled it by iron fist. The heroic performance of Huang Fujian left with Emperor Qianlong a deep impression. Huang Fujian's great-grandfather, Huang Wu, was Zheng Qianggong's general guarding Haicheng. He later surrendered the town to the Qing army and was awarded the title Lord of Haicheng, which could be inherited 12 times. Thus, at the age of 9, Huang Fujian became the Lord of Haicheng. Historically, Haicheng has suffered from many war damages. People there believed in the town god who could protect the town and its residents. At the Taishan Temple in Pingshan, Fuzhou, there was a town god from Taiwan in the mural, depicting town gods from the 12 prefectures of Fujian province, which was created during Emperor Daoguang's reign. This is the town god's temple of Tainan. It is the earliest of its kind in Taiwan. It was built during Zheng family's reign. This plaque was written by Huang Fujian in the spring of the 51st year of Emperor Qianlong's reign. That year, Huang Fujian was 65 years old. In the first lunar month of that year, he sent a memorial to Emperor Qianlong, requested to retire from his post. He was old and got pain all over his body. However, the 76-year-old Emperor Qianlong did not approve and sent Huang Fujian nourishments such as ginseng and heart-calming pills from Korea and told him to take good care of himself. However, at this juncture, news came from Taiwan that over a dozen officials, including Deputy Magistrate of Tamsui, had their heads cut off. Huang Fujian prepared to go to Taiwan immediately, even he was sick. After Emperor Qianlong learned this news, he sent 4 imperial edicts in 5 days, all the way from the capital to the southeast coast. Huang Fujian's illness had not been healed yet. It was not appropriate to travel far. The emperor's care overflowed on the paper. But Huang Fujian still departed for Taiwan. After all, the veteran was experienced, and the chaos was settled quickly. The only trouble he encountered was a typhoon on his way to Taiwan. But he prayed to the town god piously, and everything turned out all right. So he presented this plaque to the town god in Tainan. Perhaps this was also his farewell to Taiwan. He had been Fujian's admirer for nearly 2 decades and made himself famous. Now, he was ready to return home to spend his remaining years in comfort. But right in that year, Lin Shuangwen, a man from his hometown, Pinghe, changed his destiny. Lin Shuangwen came to Taiwan from Pinghe County in 1773 and lived in Daliyi, Taichung by doing farm work. On the 27th day of the 11th month, in the 51st year of Emperor Qianlong's reign, Lin Shuangwen in today's Dadun, Taichung, led an uprising which almost subverted Taiwan. During the Qing dynasty, there were 3 major rebellions in Taiwan, led by Zhou Yigui, Lin Shuangwen, and Dai Chaozhun, respectively. Among them, Lin Shuangwen rebellion was the largest one, but it started from a mere trifle.
在我们斗六有一个人叫做杨文林，他因为没有儿子，就抱养了一个杨光勋一个儿子，就后来呢自己又生了，好叫杨妈氏。那孩子长大以后就觉得谁应该继承财产了，就吵了起来，各自结党。
This property dispute between the brothers exposed an untold secret. An organization called Tiandihui surfaced for the first time, shaking the Qing quite greatly. Tiandihui was originated in the area around Huang Xujian's hometown, Pinghe County and Yunxiao County.
这个清朝乾隆26年，由一个叫提洗和尚，这个人也是云霄人，姓郑，俗名属姓郑，叫郑开。 建立一个秘密的民间反清社团组织的名称叫天地会，就在这里搞秘密活动。
Tiandihui was introduced to Taiwan in 1783, and the person who brought it to Taiwan was from a place only a mountain's distance away from Huang Xujian's hometown.
有云霄马铺客寮人叫严烟，他平时经常在台海两边来来往往，一般就做布匹生意的。 而这个严烟到台湾就认识了这个林爽文，林爽文呢就拜他为师傅。
Lin Shuangwen thus became the leader of Tiandihui in North Taiwan. In the 11th month of the 51st year of Emperor Qianlong's reign, the property dispute between the Yang brothers in Douliu, Changhua, finally led to the government's apprehension of Tiandihui members. In a moment of desperation, Lin Shuangwen led the Tiandihui members to uprise, and soon it spread like a raging fire. The Fujian fleet admiral Huang Xujian and the army chief Ren Cheng'an were ordered to lead marine and land forces to Taiwan, suppressing the riot. When hearing Huang Xujian led his troops to Taiwan, Emperor Qianlong was relaxed and thought it was just another civilian group fight. As long as Huang Xujian was there, the bandits would quickly disperse as Huang's troops approaching. But the well-calculated Emperor Qianlong was wrong this time. Lin Shuangwen allied with Zhang Datian in the south. The two groups of rebels joined together, occupying towns and cities like splitting bamboos. Officials like Taiwan Prefecture Magistrate, Tamsui Deputy Magistrate, and Zhuo County Magistrate were killed. Lin Shuangwen claimed himself to be leading marshal of the alliance, named military and civilian officials, erected banners, and called the new regime Shuntian. When confirming that Lin Shuangwen proclaimed himself a king and established his reign, Emperor Qianlong began to realize the seriousness of the rebellion. Huang Xujian, whom Emperor Qianlong had placed great hopes on, and the army chief Ren Cheng'an were both stationed in Lugan, hesitated to march forward. Huang Xujian's attitude was abnormal. But faced with such a rebellion, old age and illness could not be excuses. Not only was Huang dismissed, but he was put into jail together with Ren Cheng'an for delaying military opportunities. They were waiting to be executed. Compared with the integrity and stability of the Qing territory, even the most trusted generals had become insignificant.
乾隆有个小故事啊，乾隆住那个养心殿，有一个瓷的罐儿，瓷罐儿装着什么呢？装的这个草，干草，一段一段，36段，每天呢才拿出几段搁在这个案子，他看丢不丢。 他说，草一颗也不能丢。他这个草，一个是相当宝物，还有一种诠释就是土地，就是领土一寸也不能丢。
Emperor Qianlong decided to send his closest general, the Grand Secretary Fu Kang'an, and Counselor Hai Lancha to Taiwan to put down the riots. On the 29th day of the 10th month of the 52nd year of Emperor Qianlong's reign, Fu Kang'an led elite troops from 4 provincial regions, Guizhou, Guangdong, Hubei, and Guangxi, with a total of 8,000 soldiers arrived in Lugan. On the 8th day of the 11th lunar month, Fu Kang'an and Hai Lancha led the army to break down the siege of Zhuluo. The situation was reversed. On the 4th day of the 1st lunar month in the following year, Lin Shuangwen was captured in Laojuji, Zhunan, Miaoli. Immediately, the Qing army moved south and captured another leader, Zhuang Datian, in Langqiao. A riot that lasted nearly 16 months was finally settled. This incident had wreaked havoc across the entire Taiwan society.
大概从6月围攻到11月，猪肉怎么样被攻破？可是我们已经也弹尽粮绝了，城里都没有东西吃的，都把那个花生的渣，混合其他的草根等等，拿来吃。
Emperor Qianlong was sentimental when hearing this. On the 3rd day of the 11th lunar month, he issued a decree to change Zhuluo County to Jiayi.
嘉义是唯一清朝的时候，皇帝颁赐给我们的一个地名。所以我们这里有没有看到很多的义民庙啦、义民塔？
Bengang in Yunlin was then called Bengang. It was severely affected in the Lin Shuangwen Rebellion.
我们这个地方呢，是一个小都市啊，是一个港口啊，港口要安定才有贸易、有生意可以做啊。 它自然而然会老百姓，就是商人会出一些钱，组织这些民兵的团练来保护地方。牺牲比较惨烈啊，所以这边是从临床事变完就有这个义民庙。
A total of 108 people of Quanzhou origin devoted their lives to defend their home in Bengang. So did one loyal dog. All civilian groups that had assisted the Qing army, whether they were Hakka or of Quanzhou origin, were awarded titles written by Emperor Qianlong as a praise of their loyalty.
事实上，给不同族群有不同的封号。像我们这个泉州人的义民庙呢，他给那个封号叫做京义，啊，如果是漳州人叫做思义，甚至连原住民也有义民，啊，就为了保护他们原住民部落而牺牲的，给他们封号叫效忠。 客家人他们变成他们族群的中心信仰，他们的封号叫做保宗。
This Baozhong Yimin Temple in Hsinchu was a legend itself. In the Hsinchu area, the Hakka villagers organized the militia to defend their hometown. After the rebellion was suppressed, they hired ox carts to collect over 200 bodies of Hakka soldiers along the way. When they arrived at the current site of the Fangliao Yimin Temple, the oxen pulling the carts were not willing to move. People felt it was the spirits of the dead who wanted to be buried there, so they buried the victims in this bull-trapped crypt. Next to the cemetery, the Yimin Temple was built. Over 200 years later, Hsinchu Yimin Festival has become a grand festival.
当年的祖先组织义民军啊，是捍卫乡土，捍卫我们的生命财产，那让我们后代得到平安。所以义民祭有2个意义：一方面感恩祖先，一方面呢普施啊孤魂。所谓的义民精神啊，主要就是忠孝节义、勤劳朴实啊。我们的老祖先就是这样子过来的，那我们也传承这个。
Order was restored in Taiwan, and Fu Kang'an, in the 5th month of the 53rd year of Emperor Qianlong's reign, led his army to cross the sea and returned in triumph. Emperor Qianlong held a big feast in Ziguang Pavilion, Zhongnanhai, and heavily rewarded the generals. And just over a year ago, Huang Fujian, who had been well appreciated by Emperor Qianlong, also attended the Thousand Elders banquet. From one who was so honored yesterday to the one whose name was tarnished today, for the veteran General Huang Fujian, what an embarrassment. Fortunately, Emperor Qianlong showed compassion for his age and illness and remembered his grandfather's great contributions, remitted the death penalty of Huang Fujian and the other military chief Ren Chang'an. Emperor Qianlong listed pacifying Taiwan as one of his 10 perfect military achievements. 20 officials of merit were painted into portraits and hung in Ziguang Pavilion, Zhongnanhai. This was the highest honor for soldiers in the Qing dynasty. Cai Panlong, a Kingman commander, was among them because of his contributions. In front of Tainan's Chikan Tower, 9 steles stand in a line. They were the stone tablets erected to record merit after the Lin Changwen rebellion was quelled. These steles were engraved with words written personally by Emperor Qianlong, consisting of 5 Manchu and Han language poems and essays. The inscriptions detailed how the revolt was put down, copious and fluent, very comprehensive. But the excited Emperor Qianlong also confessed that he had no choice but to use military force and was very afraid of using it. There were 10 such steles transported to Taiwan, and one was erected in Jiayu County. This was the imperial decree of Emperor Qianlong for building a temple for Fu Kang'an. This battle made Fu Kang'an enjoy infinite honors. It was a pity that Taiwan Commander-in-Chief Jia Daji had become the most tragic figure in the rebellion. Zhulo was not captured by rebels, thanks to Jia Daji's command. That was a great achievement. But probably he had neglected Fu Kang'an. He was investigated by Fu Kang'an after the rebellion. The investigation revealed that he had been committing economic offense, collecting the so-called Haikou silver from arriving and departing ships, which means collecting extra money.
那陈家琪其实有功的，怎么到最后沦落都要被杀头呢？后来就是查出，他们基本上都有去收这样的费用。
This was the long-lasting corrupt custom among officials. Huang Fujian had reported before, but Emperor Qianlong didn't pay much attention. This time, the corruption was related to the army and almost resulted in losing Taiwan, so it could not be tolerated anymore. Emperor Qianlong was determined to execute one as a warning. And Jia Daji was executed.
所以乾隆皇帝也是一个非常，我觉得很英明的皇帝。他从这个柴大纪开始往上算10任，全部都抄下来，嘿，希望能够来制止这样子的歪风。
Lin Changwen rebellion actually could be deemed as a wake-up call to the rotating soldier system in Taiwan. In the year when the Lin Changwen rebellion subsided, the Taiwan government issued the prohibitive regulations of the port, which warned that if extra money charges were collected as before, once accused by the boat owners, the punishment would be doubled. Such prohibition steles were erected one by government offices, military and administrative departments. They impressed the same content, strictly demanding officials to abide by the laws. It can be seen that the Qing dynasty did find problems in the officialdom and the army and took serious measures. The notice by the Taiwan military chief prohibiting extortions was engraved inside the city gate where people moved in and out. After the Lin Changwen rebellion in 1788, Tainan finally began to build a city wall. It was presided over by Taiwan Prefecture Magistrate Yang Tingli, and the original palisade bamboo city wall was replaced by dried mud wall. There were 8 gates and 2,520 jang of city wall, which took 2 years to complete. The city, recovering from the turmoil, was regaining its prosperity. The city was bustling with boats and carts, and supplies were sufficient. It was again a peaceful and merry scene. In such an environment, how was the daily life of the rotating soldiers? Definitely, it was more than military training.
早期、中期，他的薪水一直没有增加，就是1个月1两，所以这些兵呢也各自去经营行业，有的去卖什么这个鱼丸汤啦，像汀州兵说很会织皮鞋啦，就挑着大街去卖。
Soldiers of the same hometown outside the barracks had their own place of contact and gathering. It was called Huoguan. There were 5 Huoguan in Anping. Haishan Hall is the only one of the 5 Anping halls left today. It belonged to folks from Haitan Town, which is today's Pingtan Island of Fujian Province.
为了安抚这些班兵的调动啊，临时调动住宿，或比如说他们搭船回去或搭船过来，不是要配合风向或洋流潮流，那很多班兵身上没有钱啊，那总要安排一个住的地方啊。那这些火馆就是专门安置这些班兵的。
Therefore, Huoguan could also be seen as a temporary transfer station for rotating soldiers.
班兵事实上也是另外一种移民嘛，他们也会把这样的一个原乡信仰给带到台湾来。台湾这个班兵所建立的会馆呢，多半也具有寺庙的功能。
This building in Changhua is one of the few Huoguan relics left today. It was a rotating soldiers' Huoguan and looked like a temple.
班兵火馆，那它是庙的外壳，可内行跟寺庙是不一样的。用今天的名称叫军人俱乐部。
This Kinmen Hall in Lugan was a special kind of soldiers' club. From the names engraved on the 2 steles, it could be speculated that the donors were almost all from the Marine Division. Therefore, it should be regarded as Navy Club. There is Tibiao Hall in Penghu. There was a special place of origin of Marines in Taiwan. They called themselves Tibiao. They claimed themselves to be descendants of the soldiers in the division directly under the Fujian Fleet Admiral.
有很多班兵，他爱上台湾这个地方，爱上台湾的姑娘，那最后呢，就有点像今天我们所谓的外省本省的通婚，就很多班兵就娶了太太，或从大陆带眷属，那就在台湾，就留在台湾开垦，落叶生根，就变成我们今天所谓台湾人祖先。
In the Tibiao Hall in Penghu, in addition to offering sacrifices to the sea goddess Mazu and the monkey king Qitian Dasheng, the ancestors' tablets are also enshrined in it.
像我的这个高祖父呢，他是由福建同安刘武店然后来到了这个澎湖，他后来担任澎湖左营的千总那我们也自称我们是提标的后裔。
In addition to this Tibiao Hall, Penghu also has the Beacon Hall, Haitan Hall, Nanao Hall, and Tongshan Hall. This Guandi temple in Penghu was then Tongshan Hall of the rotating soldiers from Dongshan, dedicating to Emperor Guandi. The Wusheng Temple in Dongshan, Jiangzhou, is the ancestral temple of Guandi deity in Taiwan.
这个实行班兵制度200余年，至少有4万多同山子弟到台湾去驻守。
There was a story of four-life mother circulated in Dongshan. The name of four-life mother was Wu Biniang. Her husband, Li Bingban, went to Taiwan to guard the island and entrusted his friend Li Yongchun to take care of his wife and children. At that time, Wu Biniang had 3 children, and they lived a hard life. Chen Yongchun lived up to his friend's trust and took good care of Wu Biniang and her children. But over time, there were rumors.
吴碧良是个非常贞烈的女子，就忍受不了，结果呢，就把她的3个孩子都扔到井里，自己也跳井而死。这样呢，一家就4条人命全部没了。
The incident was said to have alarmed the Qing court.
雍正皇帝就下诏，就每年每季要追赠给这些班兵家属的俸银。那四命妈她以自己呢一家4条命换取了这个朝廷对这些班兵家属的体恤和照顾。
to express their gratitude. The rotating soldiers from Tongshan built a temple for the Four Life Mother and worshipped her for generations. Minnan Town in Mawei, Fuzhou, located at the mouth of the Minjiang River, was one of the 3 major marine bases in Fujian in the Qing Dynasty.
那时候当兵是福建的水师啊，主要是从闽安、海棠、土安这3大水师基地派出去，当然还有福建陆营部队，但是水师主要是从这3方面派出的。整个闽安这个根据省市文物部门统计。 驻守台湾啊，这些军事啊，有3万多人。
This building used to be the office of the regiment commander in Minnan, equivalent to naval headquarters. Both Ouyang Kai, the first chief commander, died in battle in Taiwan, and Lin Qiangrong, the last chief commander, died in battle there, served as the highest military commander here, deputy commander of Minnan Regiment. In the early years, under Emperor Jia Qing's reign, Wang Delu from Chiayi and Qiu Lianggong from Kinmen served here successfully, and they were late promoted to admirals of Fujian and Zhejiang respectively. In 1808, they teamed up to wipe out the notorious pirate Cai Qian and clear the major scourge of the Taiwan Strait. At that time, the two became the most famous naval commanders. Wang Delu was a star among generals in Taiwan. He was from Chiayi County, Taiwan. During the Lin Shuangwan Rebellion, the 17-year-old Wang Delu recruited 500 volunteers in his hometown to participate in the defense of Zhuluo. Thereafter, he joined the military. In decades of battles, he experienced numerous life and death situations.
王德禄他打仗的话，好像都是 百战百胜的，原则上那时候的战争体系的话是要冲锋陷阵的，所以据说他自己讲了，他身体受伤几百次哈，几百次。
After wiping out Cai Qian, Fujian admiral Wang Delu in his 30s reached the pinnacle of his life and was named second-rank Viscount by the Qing court.
2等直接的时候是属于正一品嘛哈，台湾从来没有出现说有官品这么高的人啊。 官大谁温大，民间都很崇拜。
In 1841, Wang Delu was 72. He had already retired from the military and settled in Taiwan for many years.
蔡坚平定之后啊，王德禄是认为海盗已经平定了，已经没有什么事。
Unexpectedly, more powerful opponents were approaching. In 1840, the Opium War broke out and Taiwan was in danger. The 72-year-old veteran Wang Delu was ordered to arm himself and defend Taiwan. Regardless of age, he crossed the sea and went to Penghu to supervise military affairs. However, this time from overwork, he died in his Penghu field headquarters. But it was comforting to General Wang that in this war, Taiwan's military and civilians defeated the British invaders. At that time, the chief administrator of Taiwan, Yao Ying, and commander-in-chief Da Hong'a reversed the bad customs of discord between civil and military officials, worked closely and organized defense deployment. Ershawan fortress of Keelon was built by Yao Ying at that time. Facing enemies, people in Taiwan joined hands regardless of their origins, either from Fujian or Guangdong, from Jiangzhou or Quanzhou. They shared their bitter hatreds towards enemies, once again manifested the spirits of the Yimin in defending homeland. In the first battle of Keelon on September 30th, 1841, a cannonball fired from the Ershawan fortress hit the British gunboat Nerbuda. The Qing army attacked and killed 32 British soldiers, captured 133, and seized 10 artillery pieces. In the 200 years of history of the Taiwan rotating soldier system, this was the most victorious battle ever fought. During the Opium War, the coastal defense on the mainland lost their troops and territories. Only the anti-British battlefield in Taiwan was a total success.
1840年之后呢，清朝政府面对的这个对手全部都是有船坚炮利的这些西洋人。
所以这个时候，整个的一个防御的措施，那个思维都需要转变，然后这个军种也必须要去改变。
当时候湘军跟淮军呢就崛起了。那这个样的新的替代性的军队呢，就是湘淮军，正式的称呼叫做防军。那 从同治一直到光绪这两朝，台湾的这个驻防军队呢，就是由所谓的防军来取代的绿营。
在光绪元年到20年之间，有很多不同省级的军队到台湾来。
As a result, the defense forces replaced the rotating soldiers, and the 200-year-old Taiwan rotating soldier system came to an end.
班兵在台湾最重要的贡献就是对于台湾区域社会秩序的稳定，我觉得它发挥了一定的效果。清朝政府的对于这个台湾这个地方的这个统治呢，把这样的一个重责大任交给这个班兵的手中，在班兵的人数条件不够的情况底下，还有办法呢很稳定的控制台湾210多年，这样的一个历史也是不可忽视的。
After the test of anti-British battle during the Opium War, the King Long Ershan fortress withstood the Sino-French War of 1885 and the anti-Japanese War of 1895. It also witnessed the garrison in Taiwan changing from rotating soldiers to defense army. On the high ground beside the barrack, there are several tombs. The inscription on one of the tombstones can still be recognized. It belongs to a soldier of Henan origin. He failed to return to his hometown, but he was lucky. In the camp he defended, he could have a separate grave and left his name. For those rotating soldiers who died in a war or died of sickness, basically they had to be sent back to the camps that they belonged to for unified burial. Such cemeteries of the soldiers stationed in Taiwan were found in Guangdong and Fujian provinces. So far, there were 4. This is a cemetery for rotating soldiers in Zuoying, Nan'ao.
到现在埋在这里总共180余口。由于碰到呢要修公路，这一些坟墓需要帮腔，那县政府在1992年就破款，把这些呢移到这里来，把坟墓的 每一块墓碑贴成总共2个字，叫忠坟。
This is the military cemetery of the Qing dynasty in Mingyang Town, Mawei, Fuzhou. Buried here were 135 officers and soldiers who followed Imperial Commissioner Shen Baojun to Taiwan in 1874. In March 1964, Zhu Lai, a worker from Fangshan Commune, Dongshan County, outside his factory, discovered a group of tombs in the wilderness. He learned from his grand-uncle that this was the cemetery of those rotating soldiers who guarded Taiwan. Zhu Lai then built a simple hut here and began his career in tomb keeping. The wild grasses were removed, the road was repaired, and more than 130 tombstones displayed a clean look. These tombstones may have kept some names, but more of them were nameless. 50 years have passed. Zhu Lai is over 80 years old, and he continues to guard this place. Of course, he's not the only one who cares now. The cemetery of generals and soldiers who guarded Taiwan has already attracted many people's attention. People keep coming and donate funds and present sacrifices. People who come here may ask, what's the motivation of Zhu Lai to watch these tombs for half a century? What is it? He never mentioned. Only from his daily pious praise for those who protected Taiwan, one can find the answer.
无不眠也无不眠前，乃是无老鼠也无老鼠精。